the hospitality industry is not going away. It will never be replaced with AI. AI is wonderful, and I use it a lot, and I value that. And it helps to, when used correctly, it can really help expand things. And hospitality is never going away, right? So it's that impact. And when you're talking about the ripple effect, as a leader, your ripple effect is going to your team and going out. But what we're building as a brand is our ripple effect not only goes to our team that's interacting with our guests, but now the impact of what these new projects are going to have from that ripple effect, building a well-being retreat that will have all of the new modalities, focus on men's health and women's health and mental health, and providing not only the place, but the experiences that go into it.
Welcome to the Impact Effect Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Morris. We've got another amazing guest with us today. Melissa Blettner is in the house, okay? And she is the CEO of Boyd Hollow Resorts, which is an experiential hospitality company. She loves leading people, loves pushing them into their power, to their purpose, and she does an amazing job of it. She's done so many amazing things in the hospitality industry, and I am just so excited to have her on the Impact Effect Podcast. Please help me welcome Melissa to the Impact Effect Podcast.
Thanks, Jim. I'm so happy to be here. It's exciting to be a part of your world, and I really have respect for your podcast and what you're sharing with people.
Let's go. This is going to be a good one. You know, when you just have someone on the show and you got the good energy, the good talk before you hit record. So I'm just grateful and fired up. Melissa, we ask every single guest the same question to kick things off. What is the most impactful moment in your life that changed everything for the future?
Wow. Okay. So that's a big question. And I think, in thinking about things, I'm going to take it back and kind of share a story with you, because I don't think that there's one specific impact of like time that really changed everything, but there are short or big impacts along the way that have shaped it. And the first one starts when I was like a senior in high school. And my mom and dad and I traveled to Hawaii. And I stayed at the Hyatt Regency in Kaanapali. And it was beautiful. And at that moment, I knew that I wanted to move into hospitality. But I didn't know why. I just was like, wow, this is cool. So then fast forward, I went to University of Wisconsin-Madison for a couple of years, decided I wanted to go more into hospitality. So I took some time off and worked at my first hotel job. And I got to tell you, it was a far cry from the Hyatt Regency in Hawaii. I worked at the XL Inn, which is a rooms-only property in Madison, Wisconsin, by the interstate. So it was not your luxury hotel, but it was a start, and I learned things there. Then I went to college and got my degree in hospitality management. Moved to Minneapolis and had a chance to work at all sorts of different hotels. And, I always kind of just did the next thing you were supposed to do, right? You're going to college, you take all those courses you're supposed to take. And that's really a time when your life can kind of be developed. So after college, I went to Minneapolis, worked for all those chain hotels, Hiltons and Hyatts and Embassy Suites and Holiday Inns. And then after 5 years, I was like burnt out, which a lot of people get in the hospitality industry. And I was young. I mean, I was only 23 years old, and thinking, man, when do you start working so much that you forget to live? So I quit my job, moved to Wisconsin, which back home, because I was getting too far towards Canada, and decided to start at a ski resort there. And I was the director of guest services. And so this was another pivotal time. I got to really find out whether what I learned in college and what I applied in the chain hotels would work in my own atmosphere. And that's where I really, truly started developing my own management philosophy. And I did that for about 5 years. And then was frustrated one day there and decided I needed a shift, printed out 100 resumes because that's what you do. There was no internet then. And I used my resources, and I guess I'm sharing all this because maybe somebody is going through this same thing and they'll go, oh yeah, I'm frustrated. I don't know what to do. But I proactively lined up a job. So I called our property management system that I knew. Like, I took the skill I knew best and said, what hotels do you have in Wisconsin? Because I knew I wanted to be there. So I'm starting to shape my future of where I wanted to go. And Rita is who I was talking with at Resort Data Processing. Give a shout out to Rita. I haven't talked to her in years. But she gave me a list of 40 different hotels and said, but you know what, go to this one. It just opened and they have Resort Data Processing, but they don't know what to do with it. So I went to the then Black Wolf Lodge in Wisconsin Dells and walked in and asked for the person I was supposed to ask for and said, I don't have an appointment, because I hate it when people do that, just trying to step into your authentic self. And he ran to the lobby. I remember that day. And ironic enough, talking about how the things that are coming into your life impact the next thing. He said, we've got a consultant we're working with, and he's up in this meeting room. Go talk to him. So I went up, talked with him. I gave him my resume. I had just the night before taken off that XL in Madison off of my resume because I had enough other stuff. But the person that was interviewing me was actually the owner of that XLN. And I didn't realize it until after we went through. We kind of self-discovered that later. But I started there as the assistant general manager with no general manager. And that's where I would spend the next 20 years of my life, building Great Wolf Resorts. And so that was a huge pivotal point in my life. And I thought that was the culmination of it. That was my meaning. And that was my purpose, is that I would help define this super awesome brand that helped families vacation better together. And then I realized that was just preparing me for this role.
Let's go. Let's go.
And I was like, oh, I know all about this. I've done this already. We've built a brand. We can build another one. And I got here and I was very humbled. First off, there's no Great Wolf Lodge in Knoxville, Tennessee. So anytime I would say, oh, well, I worked with Great Wolf Lodge for 20 years, they would look at me like, what are you talking about? And I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. So then we're just building everything again. And now we're at this next poise. And I don't know what the next big thing is going to be. I guess that's yet to come. But to answer your first question of what's the one impactful thing, I think it depends on where you are on your journey, and that it's important to walk through life with your eyes wide open so that you can see the opportunities that are coming at you, because you don't know what it's going to go. And if you are struggling and you don't know what to do next, sometimes I kind of relate it to there's this square hole and I'm trying to pound a round peg into it and it's not working because I'm just trying to jam it in there. Sometimes I need to just step back and let go and let God tell me where I'm supposed to go and move in that direction. So
totally.
Yeah.
It sounds like you had, a very courageous career leading up to this, and, you continued to push and pursue and move forward to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and understand where you were happy and where you weren't. You had mentioned that, at what point do you stop working and start to live? Where do you think that came from? Where did that nudge come, that push? Was it someone in your life? Did you hear something, see something? Where do you think you pulled that out of in those times?
I think I come from a very optimistic family. My mom and dad are very optimistic, and I feel very blessed at the childhood upbringing that I had, because there were always, now looking back, there's all sorts of little quips and phrases and words of advice that I like. Oh yeah, mom said that, or oh yeah, dad told me to do that, and they always were leading and doing that along the way. And so even those little things, like even like I say, you know, walk through life with your eyes wide open. So there's different phrases that come into being there that help you go on that path. And I remember a time when I was going through a really tough time. Then this was before I was up in Minneapolis. So it was kind of during my college years. And I was having a really tough time at school. And my dad looked at me and said, "Don't think you're the only person in this family that's gone through that, because I've done it." So to him to say that was big.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. Well, and I think you carry that with you, with your passion to lead people and to push them into stepping into their own power, right?
Yeah.
Because there's relatability there. There's vulnerability there. It's an opportunity to connect on a deeper level than just maybe signing someone's paycheck as the CEO or, you know, granting vacation time, right? Those relationships, those vulnerabilities, your personal truths that connect deeply with someone on your team, in your family, friends, even acquaintances, right? Even in a world of digitalized social media and AI, we see these opportunities to be real, to leverage the tools, to have the conversations face to face, the closed door, you know, giving someone the time, the energy that they need most in the moment that they need it most. So I love that, because, you know, your dad was being vulnerable and, you know, bringing himself to the level that you were at to show you that it was okay, to show you that we all navigate different seasons. Tell me a little bit about, you know, optimism from your parents, vulnerability. You're leading people today. Have you been in scenarios where you feel like you've impacted others by maybe passing that forward and doing some of those things that your dad and the guidance you had allowed you to get through some tough seasons or times?
Yeah, for sure. I remember there's a specific time. I'll lead back to my dad again. There was a specific time when I was working at the ski resort, and talk about like time off or vacation time. Like, it was a family-owned resort. There were no benefits. The biggest benefit I could give my team, and I had a team of about 20 guest services agents, and all I could give them was a flexible schedule. So, because they didn't even have vacation time or benefits or anything. So really knowing them and being able to work with them through that is so powerful. And knowing that, you know, my goal was to create an environment, and this is every place that I've kind of worked. I've tried to create an environment where people liked to come to work even more than they wanted to be at home, so that they enjoyed it, because you spend so much time at work. But there was a time early on in that role, you know, where I'm trying to figure out if I know how to manage people. And I'd walk in the door and the front desk was right there. You'd walk in into the front lobby. And before I could even like get to the behind the front desk, my team was like, Melissa, just like on me. And I'm like, can I take my coat off? And I go over to my desk and it was piled high with stuff. And I was so frustrated. So I talked to my dad and I said, and this is a huge thing. And I share this story a lot with people, because a lot of new managers, because it's mindset. And I told my dad, I'm like, gosh, they won't let up. I'm just like bombarded when I walk in. And he said, you're thinking of things wrong. You have to, he probably said it better English, but he said, your thoughts are not correct. You need to know that your team is the first thing on your checklist. So if you've got a big checklist of what you're doing in the day, the top thing should be address any issues that my team has. Make sure that they're okay before you dive on your desk, before you walk behind. So then when they ask you a question before you get back there, you can be like, hey, thanks. I already got the first thing on my list done. Because and then you service them, and then they can go service other people. So that was a huge thing that I try and instill in people, because well, now I'm in the process of putting out a leadership workbook on leading with heart. And heart stands for hospitality, which isn't the industry. It's the act of being a servant leader. And expectations, because people will tend to perform to the level of expectation set. And if you as a leader don't set expectations, that's what you're going to get. And then alignment, making sure that they know what the expectation is and you're both aligned on that. Resilience, because things don't always go right. And trust, because I'm a big Franklin Covey advocate and fan, and leading at the speed of trust. There's nothing that can make a business grow faster than knowing that the people that you're working with are going to do their job and having trust that they're competent to do that. So
I love the acronym because, you know, being someone who spent time in the hospitality industry and working for all different brands, you know, it's really important to understand the fact that without your associates, without your employees, without your managers, your supervisors, you cannot service the guest at the highest level.
no,
And we take hospitality and we think solely around the guest, the paying customer. But I've seen in so many cases and situations and scenarios where you're not being hospitable to the person that's shoulder to shoulder with you at a 1,200 person banquet and 3-course meal and musicians and performers and artists and valet parking and garages and check-ins and check-outs. And you're putting that customer first. And it crumbles. And I've seen people walk off the job in the middle of a day, an evening. I've seen people argue. I've seen fights in the break room. And it's because no one stepped in to lead and to manage the team and to let them know, hey, this is a high pressure situation. There is, you know, $196,000 event coming in the door, or a room block for $280,000. I mean, one of my friends, he just told me they had a $1.1 million room block, and 2 or 3 people quit that day because one of the managers was so dialed into the correspondent for that room block that he wasn't present, and there were situations happening with no leadership, right? Do you see that happen in the hospitality industry and other organizations or industries where we forget to put the associate, the employee, the teammate first?
absolutely. And I think that was one of the things that I really saw a lot at Great Wolf, because, you know, in my role there, we would be opening these, you know, $300 million resorts, 600 rooms, 100,000 square foot water park, multiple restaurants. You'd have 600 PAC members that would start. We'd hire them and 3 weeks later, we would open the doors. And one of the biggest challenges, now the leaders, those directors, we would bring on 90 days before. So they were there, they were all onboarded, and we got better at doing this as time went on. The first few openings were not ideal. That's another podcast. But once we kind of got it dialed in, and we did orientation, and we had a day 1 orientation, and we took a whole week to train those directors on what it meant to lead Great Wolf style. And I think that's one of the challenges with the hospitality industry. And it was even when I was, you know, so long ago back at school, and then getting out and getting into the field, and now you're a leader. And a lot of leaders think that that means I could just sit in the office and boss people around. It's like, no, that's not what it means. And like we had our leads at Great Wolf, the very first original one, their title meant lead by example, initiate, don't delegate. Like, you need to be there with them. And if you can treat kindness and respect, basic human kindness is my management philosophy. I got that from a general manager when I was working at Embassy Suites, and it just stuck with me. As the general manager, he walked around every day and shook every single person's hand and said, "Good morning, welcome to work, I'm glad you're here." Like, just that. And there's things that need to be done. Don't get me wrong. You've got to be it. But that's where setting those expectations and making sure you're in alignment allows you to be respectful too. And I think sometimes those mid-level managers, the directors, the managers, the supervisors, they don't have enough experience to move into that role. And it happens so often where they think that leading by fear is going to get them there. right? I'd rather be a cheerleader with a banner out in front of a parade than a, manager with a whip behind them, right? So I think that's a John
I
Wooden.
love that.
That's John Wooden, something like that. He didn't say it just like that, but he's an
it's so right, because the promotion comes based on maybe great service or great reviews or attendance and going the extra mile, and then you go into a completely different level of responsibility, right? And John Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership. Level 1 is I'm the leader, leading with fear, utilizing the title, right? I'm the supervisor, do what I say.
Right.
I'm the manager, you have to do this.
Right.
And we forget to build in the opportunity to teach those folks how to connect deeply with your associates. You were once a peer, now you're a supervisor, now you're a assistant manager, now you're a general manager, now you're a hotel manager. And in those moments, I think we move very quickly. We're filling spots. We've got rooms full. We've got events. We've got water parks to attend to, right? You've got all these things. And we forget to bring people through the opportunity to truly connect from one human to another. It's where I learned a lot of the tactics in my book about human connection, right? I made those mistakes. I had great mentorship. And you were talking about going around and saying, thank you for being here and shaking someone's hand. And that takes 12 seconds out of your day in passing. And if we can just slow down a little bit, if we can just humanize the approach, if we can build in this culture where we respect each other, where we're kind, where we remember that this is a human business from one human to another, in order to serve the human that is our guest, the human that is paying to be in the rooms, to have the experience. I think it's so important. So I really appreciate you sharing that, because not only have I experienced it, I've messed it up, I've learned from it, I've coached it, I've trained it, and it really does make a massive difference, not only to the bottom line of the business or the reviews on TripAdvisor or whatever platform, but more so it impacts the person, the associate, their spouse when they go home, their family, their mood. I've seen so many times leading with fear and causing people to carry that home with them after being reprimanded or coached incorrectly. And I think that we forget that there is always an impact on our actions and our words. And I don't believe in neutrality, right? It's a positive impact or it's a negative impact.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a middle. And then we go further, and I talk about this in the book, in chapter 12, the science of the ripple. Like, there's a ripple effect. So they leave work upset. They've been led down the wrong path, or don't have the resources, or been yelled at, or whatever poor leadership style comes into play. And then they go to the gas station to go pump gas, right? And they have an interaction with the attendant. And then they go home and they have an interaction with their spouse, and their kids see them, and they're snippy, they're frustrated, and we just don't even understand, nor can we quantify what that ripple is. If we lead and create negative impact. So I love that you brought that up, and I think it's so important. Now, Melissa, I have a question for you, and I've been thinking about this for a couple minutes here. You are a servant leader. You give people the tools. You work with them closely. You guide them through your career and all the impact you've made. Is there any one specific person that comes to mind who has impacted you in a substantial way? Whether that's someone that you managed and they brought new ideation, new ideas. Is that someone that you reported to and they coached you, they gave you extra time, they gave you resources, books, put you in training? Is there anybody over the years that comes to mind that has positively impacted you for your growth, for your leadership within the industry?
Boy, as you're asking me that question, all these people are like floating through
my head. Ping.
So it's kind of like the one impact event that happened. That's kind of how it is too. I mean, there's there's so many people that have impacted who I've become as a leader, from, teammates that I've worked with to general managers that I've worked for to general managers that I've trained. There's so many. I think, though, if I was looking at like my whole career and how I really came into a lot of what I know back in, and I don't remember what the year is, but this was at Great Wolf, and our CEO at the time, Kim Schaefer, was a great friend and a great mentor. And one year, and if any of the general managers from Great Wolf are listening to this, or any of the directors, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Kim and I went on a road show, and we were going to figure out how to build this brand from the inside out. That was the entire mission of it. So we went and sucked up as much information as we could at conferences all over. And we went to so many that we started hearing the same content, So we're like, okay, now it's time to stop and do. And so we learned first. And I, like I said, I'm a big Stephen Covey fan. And so you seek first to understand and then be understood. So we took as many things as we could. And then what we did was we dove into the 4 disciplines of execution. And we rolled out wigs, pigs, and hairballs at Great Wolf Lodge like you've never seen it before. We rolled it out, and it was amazing because you have the CEO that's leading the charge. And we started with the corporate office. And then from the corporate office, all of our corporate directors had an initiative to go ahead and do it, because we had a corporate director of retail, corporate director of housekeeping. So all of them had their different focuses. But then we took it one step further, and we brought all the general managers in, and we rolled the wigs, pigs, and hairballs out at every single location. And then Kim and I went on a road trip to every lodge and did the training to onboard their directors. It was a massive thing. There were so many projects and initiatives that got done that year, and so many scoreboards everywhere. And we just had a great time doing it. And I think that's part of that whole session in there of, creating Wiley University, building our brand from the inside out, and doing all of that shaped so much of my education of what I've learned on how to be a leader, and soaking it up, and just being able to interact with so many different people through that was like an amazing experience. That was probably that was over the course of a long period of time, and we opened many, many resorts during that, but it was amazing.
I knew when we first had our conversation that we were very aligned. And
I did too.
I have a friend and mentor, Paul Leader. When I was in the hospitality, we met in the hospitality industry, and he had taught me 4 disciplines of execution and created, wildly important goals and all that. And it really did change my life as well. So as you're saying this, I'm like, man, you're impacting me by sharing this, because you're bringing up, this human in my life, Paul, who has just been absolutely amazing, and really did not need to take the extra time in my life and to really teach me this, to then teach my teams and to push me through it. And he had said something around the scoreboard that has always stuck with me, and I've shared it in workshops or from stages. And, when you're playing pickup basketball and you're just shooting around, and it's, a couple people, and you're not keeping score, how hard are you actually trying? And
right.
And what effort are you putting forth? And then take those same 2 people shooting around, shooting hoops, and, turn it into one-on-one or start keeping score, and watch the tenacity change, watch the hustle, watch the, effort that people are putting in, and how they're pushing themselves to play better and bigger and harder, and, create, different opportunities and try different things. And I love that analogy, because it's so true. If you just watch someone shooting baskets, they're kind of relaxed and, don't really care if it goes in or not. And you put the scoreboard up, and, they're dunking on people and lining up 3 pointers. And it's just, it's something that stuck with me. And so it's great to hear, we have similar paths on very impactful moments and people who have shared and taught us those things,
Right.
To continue to navigate, and help others through the process. With your current role today at Boyd Hollow Resorts, you guys are doing some amazing stuff. I mean, look at your background first and foremost. How cool is that? What do you love most about what you are building with, Boyd Hollow Resorts? And can you just share a little bit about what's coming or what you're most excited about as we, wrap up today's session on the Impact Effect podcast?
Yeah, you bet. So what am I most excited about? It's, it was difficult opening this village. We have 14 rooms. There's 35 employees, 33 to 35 employees. Most of them are serving the guest. We have a very small business development arm that's building the brand. But over the last 5 years, we've been building that brand, and it's, the brand is set. And then our guests showed us where we should grow. So we're a immersive entertainment attraction or village right now with lodging. And there's two kinds of guests we have. We've got the fantasy fans that are, showing up dressed up, and they're, really connecting with the fantasy and the lore, and they want more, and they want more immersion. They want more entertainment. They want more of everything. So with that, we're developing an immersive family attraction that'll really step into our lore and what we're doing. And then the other side is we have people that come, and our current location is very serene. It's perfect for retreats or wellness or stepping back. One of our main goals is to have people put this away and connect face to face. Because in a time right now where we're more connected than ever through media, we're disconnected. And I really am worried about the next generation of youth coming up that don't even know how to talk to each other because they only text, or, they don't even get on a phone. How are they going to go get a job? Or the hospitality industry is not going away. It will never be replaced with AI. AI is wonderful, and I use it a lot, and I value that. And it helps to, when used correctly, it can really help expand things. And hospitality is never going away, right? So it's that impact. And when you're talking about the ripple effect, as a leader, your ripple effect is going to your team and going out. But what we're building as a brand is our ripple effect not only goes to our team that's interacting with our guests, but now the impact of what these new projects are going to have from that ripple effect, building a well-being retreat that will have all of the new modalities, focus on men's health and women's health and mental health, and providing not only the place, but the experiences that go into it. Every time we were building a Great Wolf, I would say, oh, building it is the easy part, which our construction and development team hated it when I said that. But it's true. Like, that's the easy part. Like, you've got your wood and all your materials, and you build it, and it's done, and you walk away. But the hard part is bringing that to life. And that's what the people inside there do. Without the people, you don't have anything. So what excites me most is this journey we're on right now. And this is all new territory for me, because we're leading with a very small team. I don't have a huge corporate office of all of these people that are doing it, but we're building a brand that will, expand first in Tennessee and then beyond, not only in the United States, but we're hoping globally, and something that can grow at the same magnitude that Great Wolf Lodge did. And we'll get there. And that's exciting to see that big vision out there. And it's great because I get to meet people like you along my journey. And so it's fabulous to be able to connect with so many people and see where our impact can really make a difference through everything.
Let's go. I love it. I love it. I love what y'all are doing. And Melissa, I think you're, someone who's going to take it to that level, not only with your expertise, but with your passion and your team.
I have one question for you. before
Yeah, let's do it.
When are you coming to visit?
Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do
I
it.
can't wait. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you're always welcome. So let me know.